welcome to this week's Killer Kitchen Chronicles. I'm still nervous, but it'll be fine. So this week I'm pretty excited because we are covering one of my favorite cases, the Dennis Nilsen case. He is compared to Jeffrey Dahmer. He's known as the Jeffrey Dahmer of the UK. So as you all know, Jeffrey Dahmer case is one of my favorite ones to research and such. Just the psychology behind everything is mind-blowing. Same with the Dennis Nilsen case. So tonight we are covering that case, and we are making fried chicken. And as the case goes on, and if you already know why we chose fried chicken, you can laugh about it later. However, you probably shouldn't laugh. I say that all the time on this, but we're trying to put lightheartedness in with it. I don't know. It's just fun, okay? So we'll keep it at that. So we're going to do fried chicken, some garlic potatoes, and some fun green beans. So with all that, we will also obviously be talking true crime and such. There was other things I wanted to add at the beginning, and I cannot remember right now. So let's get cooking and talking true crime. Oh, I always almost forget this part. Don't forget to put on your apron before you start cooking. And yeah, and we will be back in just a second, and you will see potatoes. And we are back to Killer Kitchen Chronicles, and we are going to start off with the red potatoes. So with these, well, first we're going to preheat the oven to 375 because I forgot to do that. But we are going to cube these little taters here, and not to get a finger in there. That's that's cooking 101. And I'm sure people are like, "Oh my God, she's doing it wrong." That's all right. Because sometimes you're just in a hurry and just trying to get it done. So with the potatoes, I'm actually going to put them in foil because, well, who likes dishes? I don't. So if we're putting them in the oven anyway, we're just going to wrap them up in foil. So we're going to cut 5 to 6 potatoes, or depending on, how many potatoes you and your family like. So if you have a family of 3 versus a family of 6, you're probably going to want more type of thing, obviously. So I'm doing 6 potatoes here. One of them's really little, so that's fun. But so I am going to put in 2 tablespoons of butter and a teaspoon of garlic salt. But I also have some herbs in there, so you can actually flavor it with whatever you want. Some people don't like garlic. Some people like spicy. Let's spice her up a little bit. So that's always a good time. So that's what we're going to do with these. So as I'm chopping, though, let's talk about the case a little bit. So our handy dandy Carrie and her hands are here.
Hello.
Yep, it's that kind of show. Just kidding, not kidding. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll start at only hands instead of only fans, only hands. Okay, this is gonna sidetrack real quick. So what do you want to know about the Dennis Nilsen case? Because I have actually studied this for, coming up on over 3 years. I've covered it a few times, which I should be able to rattle all this stuff off with no hesitation. But if you know me as a person, when I'm put on the spot, everything leaves my brain. Mm-hmm. So here we are.
I say start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning. Oh,
Where
girl.
did you grow up?
Well, not here. So, Mr. Nilsen, or he also is referred to as Des, he actually would sign his name that, Des Nilsen. That was strange. Anyway, so he was born in Fraserburgh, Scotland. They lived in, I don't want to say, a family of fishermen, essentially. So they lived by the water and such. And his grandfather, as we'll talk about as the night goes on too, was a huge part. He wasn't a huge part for very long, but he did play a big part in, him growing up into the man that he became, or as Dennis will sometimes refer back to it. Well, that was my first run-in with death, and it wasn't okay. And he always had questions because I believe he was like 6 when his grandfather died. So backing up a little further than that, so his parents were married, they got divorced. So the grandfather, they moved in with the grandfather, and he took him in, obviously, and became the father figure for Dennis. They used to do things, go down to the lake, fishing, and such like that. Now, depending on what you believe and such, so there's some. Dennis had said in one of his books, or one of the books that were supposed to be released but was not, um, that his grandfather would take him on these walks on the beaches and such, and he would well do bad things to him. But some people think that he liked to tell stories. I believe after watching as many documentaries and reading the amount of books that I have on him, he liked the drama aspect of things. So I'm not saying that as far as like the killings go, but as far as like his upbringing and stuff, I don't think any of us will really ever know how he was brought up, because there was some stuff that happened with his brother. Because not obviously, but during that time, being homosexual was not. It was frowned upon like crazy, and that actually was an issue in some of his future endeavors as far as jobs and such. But now with his brother, oh, his brother Olaf, he so in some of the stories it says that the brother played around with Dennis, but then in the other ones, and I believe in Dennis's words, he like would snuggle up to his brother and try to play with him in his no spot, and then his brother like woke up and was like, no, you're a homo, and then like really degraded him, and they were young, so like he grew up with that drilled in his head, being bullied from his brother about being a homosexual. And that just, like I said, back then and where they were, it wasn't accepted. You know, such is life, and that just shows how much that we've grown, I suppose. Did I miss anything there? I might. That's my problem with storytelling. Is that I end up all over the place. So I'll try to keep this lined up as good as I can. Yeah. So did that answer your question as far as like the childhood stuff? Like they moved, dad left, so he had abandonment issues. He was so afraid of being alone, just like Dahmer. That was the thing with their killings. It was, yeah, it had some sexual stuff to it too, but their MO as far as getting these people, they didn't want to be left. They didn't want to be alone. They just wanted to be loved.
Right.
You know, you see that actually quite often in all these serial killer type things. It said abandonment issues from parents and such like that. But
And that's why he had the relationship with animals, correct?
he had a good relationship with animals. Yes, one of the few that you hear about where he did not. He he killed a cat one time, and then he felt like trash for it. And he did have signs of empathy, and that's also another thing that separates him from the other serial killers. Just like Dahmer, it was like Dahmer knew he was doing wrong. Dennis knew he was doing wrong too. He kind of got cocky when he got put in prison about it, but yeah, if you're in prison, you're gonna be. But yes, he had the he hurt the cat. I want to say they had childhood animals. Do not quote me on that because I don't want to be wrong. However, when he did his short stint in the military, he had a bird and a turtle. So that's fun. And they hated the fact that he had a bird because birds are messy and they smell bad. And later on, you will hear his dog Bleep. Bleep was his everything. I will bring up a picture of Bleep now and probably throughout the episode. So you can see Bleep. That was his baby, his ride or die. Probably shouldn't say that. Anyway, no pun intended. Bleep was around through all these murders, these gruesome murders. However, Bleep did not. He was very careful with Bleep because he didn't want Bleep to eat any of the bodies. So he actually made sure there. I want to say he got a taste once, but Dennis was so worried about him getting like AIDS, HIV, from because he was, picking up these guys, and they, just like Dahmer, they were homeless. He was picking them up from gay bars and such like that. Where the people, like I said, it was secret that they were homosexual, so people didn't want to know that. So I think that's why. So he said that he killed like 15. However, he could only remember 12 of the names, and then he only got charged with 6. However, with that, so that's a lot of people try to remember, and it was only within a 5-year span that he did this. So I'm freezing, and I don't know why I'm freezing. So we're gonna take a break from the true crime thing real quick, and so I cut all my taters. I'm gonna set them over here on this foil, and I will. Hopefully, I had enough here. Foil. Oh. We're going to do that. Excuse the noise. That's a lot of potatoes. I didn't think it was going to be that much. It is. It is. So with all these taters that we're going to eat after the show, so I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of butter, but I am going to cut the butter because I didn't really, I'm bad at measuring things. However, I did pre-measure, so I'm going to cut the butter, make sure we get it all over, all of it maybe. There. What a buttery mess. However, I normally prefer to use like olive oil too, just because it's like the healthier option. However, butter tastes way better than anything else. You can't go wrong with it. So got 2 teaspoons for that. And then I do have my mixture of garlic, salt, and then the herbs that are in there. So I'm just going to, I'm going to break that little piece. I'm going to do this little number here. And there is also a little bit of white pepper in here as well. Look, doesn't that look fancy? Oh, so pretty.
Smells delicious.
Oh my God, I know. I'm so hungry. We're going to do this number. I clearly didn't. It's fine. Everything's fine. So we will be back in a second, and then we will go over the green beans and some more of the Dennis Nilsen case. So we are back with the green beans. So the potatoes are going to go in for 30 to 35 minutes. Green beans will go in about 25 minutes, also at 375. So what I have for my green beans is 2 tablespoons of butter and or olive oil, if that is your choosing. And I have garlic, salt, and white pepper for mine. However, that's the thing with these kind of recipes really aren't recipes. It's you got like your thing and then your flavoring that you want to put on it. We were just talking about, you could do the ranch, the dry onion soup is really good on the potatoes. Oh man, so good. You can use anything you want, whatever your family likes. So with the green beans though, they are rinsed and I'm going to chop off the butts of them actually. And some people leave them on. I don't know. I just feel like a cook when I do it this way, I think. And that's why I do it. So I don't know. Yay, I love green beans so much. So back to Dennis Nilsen, or Des, if you will, which is so weird because that's what we call Des.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What was he known for? Like, was he known to be kind? Was he known to be like real mean when he was younger?
You mean a douchebag?
Yeah.
So as a kid, his teachers would say like he was quiet and a loner, which we all know loners. I'm trying to like chop up these green beans here in pieces. Wait, I need to not cut my fingers off. I'm doing one at a time. Hold on. So he was known as a loner type. Now, if you ask his co-workers, he was a drunk as he got older. But that his reasoning, he would say for that is to help loosen him up. We've all been there, the liquid courage type thing. But then it got to the point where he was like obnoxiously drunk, and nobody likes an obnoxious drunk type of thing. But other than that, he was known as being shy. So if he was sober, he was just shy. He wasn't mean or anything. So like when it did come out that he did this, his coworkers were like, "Wait, what? There's no way," just because he was like quiet and reserved type thing, unless he was drinking. But he would drink, at the gay bars and such like that. So the people that his coworkers didn't know that about him. Fun fact. So he worked for the security or what have you. Before that, he would actually work for the British police for a small stint. They loved that when they found that out. It's a good time.
Now you mentioned he was in the army. What
Yes.
position was he in there?
What did this motherfucker do? He just kidding. We know what he did. Um, he made a shitty soldier essentially. So obviously, like if you've watched any of the documentaries and stuff like that, you'll kind of notice that like his demeanor, just all around, he wouldn't make a good soldier. However, what he did excel at was cook. So he did that for a time, and that also gave him his experience with learning how to be a butcher, which will come in handy later on. A good time, real good time. So yeah, he actually they didn't when it came time for him to re-sign up, they didn't want him. So he left there and did his time and got the hell out of there. Yeah, it wasn't very long that he did that, but that is the time that he had the animals, the turtle and the bird. I say from stories that you gather from that time stint, he again drunk all the time, especially like being a soldier. He probably thought that that was the okay, right thing to do, but they didn't really like that. And then coming out as being a homosexual type thing, it didn't really work out in his favor. So he didn't have a good time because again, that was super frowned upon back then, and in the military, especially where he was from. So such is life. Such is life. Yet. I want to eat these so bad.
They're washed.
Yeah. Green beans. Talked about his time in the military and then his little stint of being a police officer. So, any other questions right now? I'm trying to gather my thoughts here now that we've went all over the place, but that's just kind of how we're going to do these things because that's what a conversation is.
Yeah.
Carrie's hands. I need to get you the Ubi eyes that are out in my car. Their eyes, yeah. And you'd be like, what? That'd be fun. Love it. So she knew a little bit, so that's why she's like asking the legit questions and such like that. We've filled her in a little. There are so many documentaries that he's in, not just like on him, but like the serial killer, well, on him too. There's a few, but like the ones that show like the Dahmers and the Gacy's and the Bundys and stuff like that. He's usually in them, and then of course in the books. And I'm going to go over a couple of the books at the end of this episode because of my favorite author, and he does such a phenomenal job, and he's such a very kind and humble guy. And he actually, fun story, so he worked on the set of the show Des, or movie, however you want to say it. I think it was a 3-parter. So if you haven't got to watch that yet, I think it was in 2020 that it came out. And it's very, very good. But Richard got to be in the backstage of that, telling them, well, how it was. Like, this is what he did. This is what, to make sure that it was as accurate as it could be. Or some of the things were changed in that, which is fine and understandable because, you know, name changes and such. But really good film that they did there as far as portraying things and making it more of like a movie versus a documentary. Which I love docs, but I don't even think I say documentary right, but it's fine. It's me, and I don't word well, so that's why it's a great idea that I have a show where I just ramble and talk and say words that I can't say. Anyhow, then.
Well, I know I watched the Des.
Yep.
And it helped me understand a little more because I can read it, but to actually watch it at the same time.
Yep.
That helped.
And then like the back scene stuff, like where it's set up as a movie setting, so you kind of get a better feel, like even emotionally, of what was going on or going through his head type of thing during that time. Mm-hmm. I also like how they used some of the real footage of things too during that. So with that, what were we even just going on about?
A whole bunch of fun stuff.
So, well, the time frame of the murders was 1978 to 1983. So it's like 5 years, which doesn't seem like a long time, but you got to, man, they killed at minimal 15 people. And what he did with them is, we'll get into that when we are done with the green beans. So I'm gonna do this, guys. The same thing I did as the potatoes. So hopefully, can you guys see the green beans? I hope so. I wonder if anybody said yes to the camera. I do that. Like I was, yeah. Well, like Steve from Blue's Clues was talking to me earlier on the old tickety talk, but I'm like, yes, Steve, I miss you too. Oh, Blue's Clues and Steve, you can't go wrong there. He like went away for so long, and then like he's popped up the last few months on TikTok and reaches out to like our generation and was like, how are you doing? And like he sits there for like 30 seconds and he'll shake his head. So like he's listening to you. And it really feels like he's listening to you because he's Steve from Blue's Clues. And it's just really great that he does that.
So, did he ever have a stable relationship as an adult?
I don't know if you call it stable. So he met David Gillihan and they lived together at 195 Melrose Avenue. So there's two locations like where he did things to the bodies, which we'll get into when we're doing the chicken. So he met him. There's like 11-year difference between them. So depending on who you asked, it was either, if you asked Dennis, he was like, yeah, they were in love, blah, blah, blah. If you asked David, then he was like, no. So one of those things. There's some home video that we will pop up right now. Depending on how you look at it, they seem kind of standoffish. Dennis kind of seems like an asshole. But whatever. So everything was like fine, and then they ended up like living in separate or going to separate bedrooms. And then they would even bring home their people that they were dating or having fun with, adult fun with, on the side. And then it ended up with him eventually moving out. I think why he is well known is because of the home videos. Dennis did like to record things and take videos and take pictures. Another Dahmer thing.
Now, did the roommate move out, or
yes,
did Dennis come out? Okay.
Dennis ain't going nowhere because got bodies there. So we got that. So we're gonna do the same thing with the green beans as we did to the potatoes. We will also put those in, and we will be right back. I'll probably throw up some more videos and pictures for you guys to look at. Good job, producer. I'm trying. But yeah, we'll be right back in a moment, and then we'll start the chicken, and we'll go over some of the gruesome details as we're cooking the chicken. Because why wouldn't we, when we're cooking fried chicken, go over the gruesome details?
Oh yeah, I'm signing on today. I'll sign on again.
Where's that bloody dog? It's been chewing my slippers again.
Here it is. Chewing your slippers, so give it.
I'll wring its bloody neck if I catch it again. Here's to you, Mrs. Robinson.
Okay, so we're back. We're not ready for the chicken quite yet. I mean, we are, because I'm hungry. But there's some other things I wanted to cover before we got to that part. So this is my cool my cool cup. It's the True Crime cup. It's pretty awesome. It's got Dahmer on there, Richard Ramirez, uh, oh my gosh, Gacy. It's just a really awesome cup. Anyway, that's not why I have you here with me right now. I wanted to go over some of the books and documentaries that you can look up if you want to hear more in order of Dennis Nilsen, because that's just who I am as a person, and I try to make it fun, uh, educational. Anyway, so the history of a Drowning Boy was actually the autobiography. It was blocked from being published by Britain. However, I do think I don't want to say copies of it, but renditions of that. Brian Master's biography, Killing for Company, that's like the number one. He is the one that got to talk to him right after he got arrested and made that book for him. The BBC TV documentary, Killing for Companion, Dennis Nilsen tapes, in jail with Britain's most infamous serial killers. That one's really interesting too, because it isn't just well, it talks about other people too, but that's a really, really good one to get information on. Voice of a Serial Killer, Martin Kemp's Murder Files. Another really good one is The Viewpoint of 93, and they go in and you can see the whole movies and such like that of that. The Real Des, which is the show. Dinner, Drinks, and Death. I believe that one's a book. Uh, so I was talking earlier about my favorite author, so which is Richard Estep, because he's amazing, and I have a million of his books. He does true crime and paranormal, and there's actually one here I'm going to show you where he crosses over. In this case, is absolutely insane. You see, I got notes all over in that book. Same with this one. So this one he does talk about Dennis Nilsen in, and serial killers, the minds, methods, and mayhem of history's most notorious murderers. Great book. If you are into that type of thing, the true crime junkie must have this book. Uh, yeah, it's just a much needed. You just need it, must have. That's what I was trying to say before I had a stroke. Another one that he does different serial killers with is The Serial Killer Next Door. Again, great book. Very knowledgeable man when he comes to writing his books. If you don't follow him, you probably should. Richard, I know I didn't reach out to you to get permission to just blow your name up like that, but here I am because I think you're wonderful, and he's a very humble guy, and he's an EMT on top of everything else, and he travels, and he's just all around good guy, and he still makes time for his fur babies, and I love that. Great guy. This one though, this one is so crazy. The Horrors of Fox Hollow Farm. So it was in Indiana, which I did not realize it was that close. If you don't know anything about this case, look into it. It's absolutely fucking insane. And this is one of the books that goes half paranormal and half true crime. So like you go over the true crime part of it and then the aftermath of all of that. All of his books are very, very well put together. So if you want to educate yourself on these types of things, definitely look into that, or go watch or read any of the books or documentaries that I just discussed. So now, hear me out. Now that I did all that, let's get started on this chicken, because like I said, I am starving, and we got the potatoes and the green beans in the oven. So first and foremost with the chicken, you want to start your oil. Start your oil at 375. Don't start it there. Get it up to there, 375. And then, yeah, and then I'll show you this recipe. This is one that I've never used before. I've used the same ingredients, but there's a little few different steps. But I'm curious to see if it's going to turn out even better than what I'm used to making, which is like southern fried chicken, because families come from Tennessee and Kentucky. You know, we use that lard and everything else. So good, so bad for you, but so good. You can't replace that, the taste of lard. Yeah, anyway, so we will be right back and we will start with the chicken. Okay, so we're back, as you see. So we are going to start the fried chicken. So the main mix, we're going to take 1.5 cup flour. Then we're going to take 1 tablespoon of garlic. Half a tablespoon of, not that, pepper. That's right here. I had it with the other. So there's 2 different mixtures that we're going to be doing here. So, and then we use 1 tablespoon of sage. Yum, because why wouldn't you? And, oh, I already did the 2 teaspoons of, Cool. So that goes in that. Oh, the paprika, that's what it was. The 2 teaspoons of paprika. That's what I wanted. That's what, for some reason, I got confused on that. I forgot to get a mixing utensil. So we're going to do this little number with this. Yay.
Looks delish.
It does look delicious. And everything smells so good. I need to turn back on the oil. That's what I turned it off because we were going to be burning down the house. And that's never a good thing to do. So be careful on that because we don't need that. So we're going to mix that. We're going to set that to the side. Now, hear me out. This is where things get different. I know for me, in recipes that I have used in the past. And moving on to the pre-mix. So we got the main mix, we got the pre-mix. So we're going to do 2 eggs. In this one, I'm going to make a mess on the counter because why not? We'll just have the maid get that.
Yes.
We love her. Toss those in the trash. And then we're going to add, so I'm going to see if I can do this without spilling it because I tried to pre-measure everything. So we have 1.5 cups of water we're going to add in. Then we have the half teaspoon of pepper, half teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 cup of flour. So usually I did it like a scrambled egg mix.
Yeah.
It was like the milk and the eggs. I didn't do all this. So I have a feeling this is going to help things stick more. And this is, I've always wanted to know this trick, and I never did know the trick. Maybe grandma didn't teach me the right way.
Egg flour, but never this one.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm a little curious to see how this turns out. Now, as far as the seasonings, those are family seasonings that I know I've used. How about you?
Yep.
So hopefully it'll just be a little crispier. This is supposed to be an extra crispy recipe. So maybe this is going to help it be extra crispy. So I can never get it like KFC. And that really sucks.
I've gotten
like
close.
the extra crispy. I'm like,
ah.
Yes.
Because I like it crispy.
Yeah. like KFC crispy.
Yeah.
Like the end of this story will be that. So I'm trying to. I'm going to put this over here, and then we're gonna. Oh well, shoot. Stove's over there. Stuff's over here. I need a place to put it after I dip it. So I'll use this handy bowl that I just had ready to go. So we put it in this mixture first, and then it goes in this one, and then it will go in the frying pan. So that will be a good time. Raw meat.
Yum.
We're going to roll it in here like a sear. Chicken legs, chicken leg. Oh God. Ooh. And then we do this number. Now we have just a small batch of chicken here that we're doing. So if you need to double the recipe, if you're doing, you know, like your breasts and your thighs and your legs and your wings and stuff like that, just double up the recipe, triple up the recipe, depending on how much that you need.
Do a little shake at the end.
Yeah. Like this?
Yes.
Well, nobody can see that, I suppose. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake my booty. Just kidding. You guys are getting a concert. Yay! We're gonna keep doing this. That's a good time. A good time. I just love fried chicken. Let's just be honest. Anything chicken. She's a little shaky offer there. So with his victims, so they're said to be 15. They're said to be 15. However, he only actually, well, only 8 were identified. So there's that. We believe that he remembered 12. But because of who he went after, like homeless people and people that nobody was looking for, that seems to be the thing with, well, a lot of serial killers, because, well, it's going to be a while before they get busted. So like his first victim, he kept him for a while, actually, underneath the floorboards and stuff, and he'd bring him up to snuggle him and set him in a chair and talk to him. It's very much necrophiliac. So, and then he realized, oh, I can get away with this. Nobody ever came looking for this boy. Nobody, you know, nobody questioned it. So that really, really helped his ego as far as being a serial killer. So, so then, you know, he kept killing. But with that first one, so he'd bring him up so he buried him underneath the floorboards of his house at Melrose Avenue, and then he would bring him up. He'd bathe him. He'd sit in the bathtub with him as he bathed them. He'd lay him in his bed. He'd masturbate to them. Watch them in the mirror. Like it was sick. I mean, I guess to each their own when it comes to stuff like that. But no. You all right, man? She's not all right, guys. She's not all right.
That's just wrong in so many ways.
So wrong. But again, it was one of those things. He didn't want to be alone. He wanted, you know, he would talk to the victim like he was actually there. You know.
He was still alive.
That's it. Just the thought of it gets me going. So he would bring them back up. That's how he got off. It wasn't so much having sex with them. He'd masturbate while they were dead. So it was, I mean, it was a sexual thing, but the whole motive behind it was different. He said he didn't want to be alone. So things started to smell around that place and whatnot. So he needed to start getting rid of the body. So he'd start having fires out back. He actually, I believe in one of the times, he found some neighborhood kids that would take it back, or had a fire with the kids, or they helped him take out the trash bags of people, body parts, if you will, and burn them. So oh my gosh, his landlord was like, hey, you know, you got to move. We're getting rid of the place, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, oh, shit. So he had to get rid of everything. And then he was trying to burn tires too to help the smell, and then bury the bodies in the back and stuff, the ones that he couldn't burn. So he would, with the skulls, because he'd start dismembering to try to get rid of them and put them in trash bags. So he would boil the skulls and stuff like that. Ew.
He would boil the skull.
Yes, yes. It gets rid of like DNA and stuff like that. Yes, he would boil the skulls. So he has to move, and he moves to. Oh my gosh! Look at that mess. I can't get it off my hand. And we're back. I had to rinse off some of my hands. I clearly didn't do a great job. But anyway, so he had to move, got to this flat, and I don't know the exact timeline, like how long it took him to start killing again, because he knew he was going to have some issues because he couldn't just burn them. So, or put them under the floorboards, because why wouldn't you keep a body under the floorboards? So you could bring it up whatever you wanted. So, and that I will be adding a lot. Thank you, Stove. I'm going to get those. I was going to say. So he had to learn different ways or different places to put these bodies to be able to dispose of them. So he was like putting them in the cupboards, had them all folded up. He'd take them apart, saw them apart, put them away, put them in trash bags, in his closet. That's where they were finding things too, in the pans. I'll show pictures of the apartment afterwards when they were pulling out all the things. That I do fortunate enough to have the visuals to help along with the story, because I'm not a very good storyteller. If you can keep up with me anyway. So, well, back to the victims. So we have Graham Allen. He was 27. He was killed in September 1982. Malcolm Barlow, he was 23, September 18th, 1981. Martin Duffy, he was 16, May 17th, 1980. Stephen Holmes was 14. He was the youngest of his victims. His death date was December 30th, 1978. John Howlett, he was 23, March of 1982. Then there was Kenneth Ogden, he was 23, December 3rd, 1979. Stephen Sinclair, 20, January 26th, 1983. And William Sutherland at 26, or he was, well, I did that one wrong, so I'm not paying attention. 26 and August 20th of 1980. Now, the remaining to get to the 15 were unknown victims, which really sucks. And there was one that actually fought his way away, Andrew Ho, and the police, well, it was an absurd story to them. So they questioned Dennis, but nothing was ever done. So, which was kind of sad, especially for Andrew. Some of the victims, so his method of killing was, well, strangulation and then drowning. So he'd strangle them, usually with a belt or a tie, and then he'd put them in the bathtub. So that's, with Andrew, he fought his way away, and I believe it was at the drowning part. I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. That would suck. But either way, it doesn't do anything to the fact that he was a very strange individual to do all these things and think of these things to do to these people. So one guy he strangled with headphone cords. I got pictures of the headphones that he had used. But yeah, he would, all the things. So I'm going to finish up with this chicken, and then when we come back, we will discuss how he got caught. And that's a fun one, and then you will learn why we chose fried chicken.